So give us an idea, how is Starbucks business in China now versus before the outbreak?
Well, it's substantially better because, well, I should say that before the outbreak was a very, very different story. It is recovering from the outbreak, but the challenge is that its stock price is down substantially, and that is because the major market that Starbucks is in, which is the Americas, is right now just on the beginning cusp of its outbreak. So it's almost irrelevant what is happening in China at this point, because it has a much, much bigger burning platform at this moment in time.
And we know that Starbucks has recently announced that it is still investing. It's announced approximately $130 million, though, in China to open a state-of-the-art roasting facility in 2022, part of its new coffee innovation park. Does Starbucks still see its future, though, being in China?
Well, when you look at growth, the Starbucks penetration in the United States is very, very saturated. So when you look at where are the other markets that it has opportunities in, it is a market like China. And certainly there are opportunities in markets like Europe, but it has found success in China. It has found initial pockets of value. There are a number of urban markets that have been very receptive to Starbucks store openings, and particularly those experience stores, the roasteries. So it makes sense, and especially given the fact that there is the hope that this pandemic will wear its course in a few months' time. Certainly the investments make sense because these are not short-term things, and Starbucks certainly has the capital to be able to withstand this shock.
And let's actually look at the efforts that Starbucks is making to manage coronavirus in its home state of Washington, hit very hard by this outbreak. What is it doing there?
Well, the issue is that Starbucks has to do much of what everybody else has to do in that state, which is essentially shut down its operation. I mean, there's not really much that you can do when the government has told you that you need to essentially cease what you are doing. There are, kind of even in other states where there are lockdowns, there is the ability to take out, but the heart, and there's value there, and there's some preservation of the revenue as a result of that. But the truth is that the bigger issue is that consumers are on lockdown. They're not even leaving their homes. You have a number of white-collar workers that are working from home. They're brewing their own coffee in their house. So the bigger challenge is that regardless of whatever kind of you may be offering as a merchant, the demand is fundamentally down, and that's the biggest challenge.
So then, as we know, Starbucks really did try and position itself as that third place, that bridge between home and work, clearly something that isn't going to work right now during the outbreak. What does this mean for them if you look at their outlook then, in terms of the longer term, being that we've really not hit the peak of U.S. cases yet?
Well, at this moment in time, it's fairly disastrous for not just Starbucks, but for every company in the restaurant sector. And I think that there are many, many companies, especially smaller regional or local players, that are in much, much worse positions than Starbucks. So there's only but so sorry that we can feel for Starbucks. But that said, there is tremendous optimism that when this passes, that things will, for the most part, rebound back to normal. This has been essentially a very self-inflicted predicament globally. This is a scenario that has been forced upon most consumers. Most consumers would like to resume their prior lives, and when these bans and these restrictions are lifted, we're fairly confident that life will resume to normal, and that is part of what is baked into some of these assumptions, are that this is bad for a quarter, potentially 2 quarters, but we should have a good rebound. Will we make everything up? Possibly not, but the good news is that it should not be a protracted recession.
All right, thank you so much for your insights. Sucharita Kodali there, Vice President and Principal Analyst at Forrester Research.